Alright, I'm back for the third and final video of my amplifiers with the Stomp and the 2 Notes Captor X. Last but certainly not least is Mufasaaaaa, the Splawn Nitro. The baddest amp I have ever plugged into in my life, and I've plugged into a lot of bad amps. In the good way. Also some really bad amps in the bad way, but anyways, the Nitro has been with me for I don't even know how long now, a long time. It was one of the very first ones that was built, and it's just the most insane stage amp I've ever plugged into. It hits so hard, so clean, so clear, and it will erase a bass player if you have a good big 412 on the stage. So I'm gonna stop talking now. I'm just gonna get to playing, and the controls are, I'll do a photo here in a second, but right now the resonance is at a little past 9 o'clock and the gain is halfway up, and the volume is a little past 9 o'clock as well, and I'm on overdrive 1, and overdrive 1 is by far my favorite. I don't like overdrive 2. I like boosting overdrive 1 because it retains some clarity to the sound. But anyways, I'll show you what everything sounds like. Trying out a different lens here. Hopefully it cooperates a little bit better than the other one in terms of focusing. We'll see. And also I've got the Golden Boy as well that I'm going to kick on here and there, but there's no, again, just like the others, there's the Stomp has the reverb and the delay, and the Captor X is not doing anything but a very slight noise gate, and that's it. It's just passing a DI signal into the other pedals. The MXR10 band is not on, and yeah, let's just get cracking here. It's basically the biggest, nastiest JCM 800 style amp sound that I've ever heard. And this includes a couple of the Friedmans that I've played, some modified JCM 800s, modified DSL, obviously modded Plexis and stuff like that. This is just, nothing can touch this amp. The only amp that I've ever plugged into that has come really close to giving this Nitro a run for its money is the Mako amplification Mako Plex. And I have a video of that on my channel if you search for it. And unfortunately, I don't think Andrew at Mako is really doing much anymore. But he built an insanely good amps. And the Mako Plex was certainly one of my favorites that I've ever plugged into. So anyways, gonna keep going here. Let's try overdrive 2. So this is overdrive 1. And overdrive 2. Lots more low end, lower mid-range added, and also more saturation. But I'm going to kick on the Golden Boy, the boost, and it's on the blue mode. So this is with the boost off, and with it on. So you still get a little bit more push in the low end. You also get a little bit more saturation there, but it stays a little bit cleaner than it did with overdrive 2. So let me jump back to that real quick. This is with the boost on and the boost off with overdrive 2 engaged. The bottom end softened up just a little bit compared to before. We go ahead and take the gain up to 3 o'clock, and it is cracking loud. And I'll leave the resonance where it is, but the amp is much more percussive with the resonance completely off. So this is gain at 3 o'clock, overdrive 1. And overdrive 2. So way too loose of a low end right there for me. Now let's kick on the blue boost. Overdrive 1 is re-engaged. Boost. I am peaking like a mofo. Hang on. I'm going to bring that output down a little bit. Alright. Blue boost is off, and I've got the green mode drive set up on the Golden Boy, so let's hold that real quick. This is with it off. There's a lot going on there. Okay, let's bring the resonance all the way down so it'll tighten up a little bit here. And let's turn that drive back on. Alright, let's get that gain back down a little bit. It is a little crazy. 1 o'clock's about as much as I use on the amp, and any more saturation that I need out of the sound is up to the drive pedal. So this is gain at 1 o'clock. Overdrive 2. Overdrive 2 is off, and let's see what else. Let me bring the mids from all the way up to about halfway. And it's still going to be very mid-rangey, and it's you get that one really great, crazy, angry Marshall sound out of this, and the EQs are just kind of like seasoning for the steak. And blue boost on the Golden Boy. Delay. Let's go to the blue drive mode instead of the green. Okay. Drive is off. Drive is on. And for the Golden Boy, all 3 EQ knobs are in the middle. And let's see, the volume is a little bit, not quite 3 o'clock, and the gain is a little bit past 9 o'clock. So. Overdrive 2 engaged with the boost still on. Overdrive 2 is off. Let's get those mids back up a little bit. Alright, I'm going to pull the bass back from around 11 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Which, if you're using a real cabinet, it's still just a massive amount. This simulated cabinet setup, it makes a huge difference on taming that massive low end. So this is blue drive that's still on, and we're in overdrive 1. Overdrive 2. Okay, back to overdrive 1, boost is off, and I'm going to clean it up with the volume pedal a little bit here. Actually, alright, gain's back at about halfway, and the bass is up just a touch, a little past 9 o'clock. And I will introduce the newest acquisition, the Boss Waza. Make sure I got the numbers right. DC2W, the Dimension Chorus. It is beautiful. So this is with it off. And with it on. Alright, so that is the third and final video of my remaining amplifiers through the 2-Notes Captor X and the Stomp, and using the newly modified Strandberg. So anyways, enjoyed doing these 3 videos, and hopefully you've noticed that they all kind of sound the same. And true to real life, most of your sound is coming from those speakers and the cabinet, and the amp is merely a suggestion of what should come out. So I don't know, I mean, I know if you go from a Vox to an Engel or something like that, you're going to get wildly different sounds. But when you're dealing with more or less, you know, some hot-rodded Marshall type stuff and an SLO, still high gain, it's nuanced differences. But it's a sound that I really dig, and using the Stomp, you can get some wildly different sounds. And what I recommend doing is, if you decide to go this route, try to get a sound that you really like out of the Stomp first, and then start EQing backwards towards the amp. If you're using a Captor X or any other sort of load box, specifically with the Captor X, you do have those EQ options in there. You have the, let's see what's up. Let's see, you got your typical 120, 360, 800, 2K, and 6K controls, but you also can do a custom EQ where you can specify the frequency and as much boost or cut up to, I don't know how many dBs, but it's enough to make a difference. Then you've got your enhancer that kind of gives, you know, the bottom end a little bit more punch and the top end a little bit more sparkle. Let's see what else. So yeah, there's definitely flexibility, but when I started to really get down like into the nitty gritty of figuring out exactly what kind of sound I wanted out of all this, it starts with the Stomp. Picking the right cabinet and the right microphone, you're going to get a generally a pretty good idea of what your, you know, end result's going to be, because that's kind of the biggest defining factor in your sound is that cabinet and the microphone selection. So starting there and working your way back in baby steps, maybe going back to the Stomp as you start to mess with the amp, going back to the Stomp, tweaking a little bit of EQing here and there, maybe a different microphone choice here or there. You might even want to, you know, pick a different cabinet and kind of start over. I certainly did. The Mesa equivalent cabinet in here is really good, and it works really well for high gain stuff. It's got a lot more like oomph to the bottom end. But for me on stage, I don't need a ton of oomph on the bottom end coming from the Stomp. We have an EQ on our PA system that we can use. The ZLX monitor that I use on stage behind me, it has a huge low end. So that low end oomph from the Mesa cabinet, for me personally, it becomes a liability on stage. Sure, you can EQ around it, but if I've got another cabinet that cuts really aggressively in that upper mid-range where the guitar frequencies really thrive and can jump out in a mix, especially as a lead guitar player, that's a much better bass for me personally to work with for how I'm using this. If you're at home and you're just jamming at the house, you know, add some more bottom end. Try out the different cabinets that have a little bit more low end frequency. You might like that better than the Marshall with the Vintage 30s that has a little bit more, upper mid-range bite. So, yeah, this has been a really fun experiment overall, and if you've chilled with me on all 3 videos, thank you. That's awesome that you've checked it out. If you're still on the fence about this stuff, give it a shot. I highly recommend at least trying the Aux Stomp. If you don't have a load box already, there are some pretty good load box only devices out there that might not have the software and the bells and whistles that something like the 2-Note stuff has. Now, the 2-Note stuff is pretty decently priced, and you do get the virtual cabinets, you do get the extra EQing abilities, you do get the reverb. You get a lot of capabilities with the Captor X that, as far as I know, no other load box on the market gives you other than the universal Aux box, which is $1,500. Now, playing through this stuff has made me want one of those really badly, but $1,500 for me right now, not really in the cards. So if you want to try this out, I would say maybe give just the Torpedo Captor X a shot first and see how you like the virtual cabinets and the different EQing abilities that it gives you. And if you want to take the if you're happy with it, that's awesome. If you want something a little bit more refined and curated in terms of a really great sounding and feeling, real sounding and feeling cabinet compared to the IRs and the modeling, nobody's doing anything close to Universal Audio, in my opinion. I think it's on a different level, and it's probably why the Oxbox is in countless studios, is because it is the sound that you're probably wanting out of an IR loader. And now, thankfully, we have something that's fairly reasonably priced compared to the Oxbox. So that's kind of my take on all this. And I'll probably end up getting an Oxbox in the future, but not right now. Honestly, I think I might have to sacrifice the Waza Tube Amp Expander. As awesome as a unit as that thing is on stage, it is a Swiss Army knife, and that can't be overlooked of how good of a device that is on stage, especially with the built-in effects, the MIDI, the in-outs, the ability to change your amp channel with it. It's got the IRs, but there's your limitation. You only get one IR at a time in that thing, versus something like the Captor X. You can have the virtual cabinets, you can have 2 different IRs at the same time, and it's a third of the price and a third of the size. So we got a lot of choices. This is kind of fun time to be a guitar player right now. And it's good for all of us that we do have all these really cool options and choices. So I'm going to shut up now. I've talked long enough and rambled long enough, but I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts and opinions on this stuff in the comments. I know that we've kind of gone through a lot of stuff in the recent videos of mine, at least, and I've got some new cool stuff on the way that we're going to see how it works before I get in front of a camera and talk about it. But yeah, stay tuned potentially for some new cool stuff. Anyways, yeah, thanks for hanging out with me and Mufasaaaaa, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.